Hey guys, today I'm going to be teaching you APA format. This is the type of format that you will always use when we're talking about scientific research. As you get older and go into your undergrad and possibly graduate degrees, you will use APA for every science class or any type of scientific research. So here's what you need to know. So the basic format, this needs to be typed, it needs to be double spaced, it needs to be 12-point font, and most of the time it's going to be Times New Romans. You can have Arial font as well. There will be 1-inch margins, a running header, and page numbers. So what that looks like, this is what you're going to write on your template. This is the running header. It's always at the top. Only the first page will have this part where it says running head, okay? The other pages will only have this little shortened title. This is like a summarized short version of the whole title. So if you're writing a scientific research paper, this is your shortened version of the title. It has to be 40 characters, no more than 40 characters. It has to be in all caps, and it can only be numbers and letters, so no punctuation at all. Those notes are on here. I will also take a screenshot of this so you can write down your notes here in a minute. Okay, page numbers need to be flush right. So this is flush left over here. This is flush right on this side. There will be a page number on every single page. It needs to be in line with this running header, okay? Okay, next thing. Usually scientific research papers have 4 main components. They have a title page. Sometimes they'll have an abstract, which is kind of like a summary of the article. There will be a main body, and then you'll have a reference page at the end. So we're gonna go through what that looks like. This whole page is the title page. So it has the title of the paper right here. It has the author name. It has the university or the place that they're affiliated with. And it has the full date. So that date can never be abbreviated. You have to write out the whole thing for the title page. Again, your title page will have your running header. This is the only one that actually says running head. The other pages will just have this part. Okay. So a running header, again, just to reiterate, says running head, has this punctuation, and then in all caps, 40 characters, it has the shortened version of the title. The page numbers, again, just to reiterate, go on the exact same line as the running header, and they're flush right. Okay, so let's talk about citations that will be in the text. That means when you're summarizing something, you might have a direct quote, and those you always have to have a citation after them in the text that you're typing. So you're always going to want to use past tense when you're talking about something. So for example, you can say, John found this chemical in 1899 or something like that. It has to be past tense. So let me see on this paper. Doesn't have an example. So I'll post this for you. You'll see it. But for in-text citations, the easiest way to cite them is by saying the author's name. So typing so-and-so. Let's say it's Smith. You can say, according to Smith, and then say whatever that quote is. And then at the end of that, in parentheses, you can have the year that it was published. So I could say Smith, direct quote, and then in parentheses, 2020, or whenever it was published, just the year. When you don't have a quote and you're just kind of paraphrasing something, you still have to have the author's name, the date, and potentially the page numbers. So let's say I'm paraphrasing, Smith found this chemical in 1899 and it was blue. Something like that. You're just paraphrasing, you're not taking a direct quote. So in that case, at the end of the sentence, I'm going to say Smith, comma, 2020, and then have the page numbers where that was found, if there was page numbers, and then close parentheses, and the period always goes after the parentheses. Okay? I know this is a lot of information. We're going to practice it a lot, so this is just your intro to it, okay? To insert an actual quote from the reading, you must cite the author's last name, year of the publication, and the page number on which the quote is found. So that's what we just talked about. So here's another example. It says, according to Shudik, 2014, students often have difficulty using APA style, especially if it is their first attempt. So that was a direct quote. We have Shudik is the author, and then right after the author's name, we have the year it was published in parentheses. Then we have our quote, and then we have parentheses at the end to tell us the page number. So that is an example of how you would do an in-text citation. Level headings. We will not have to do that, I don't think. So we're going to skip over that section. Okay, let's talk about references. So at the end of your article summaries or your scientific research or whatever, you're going to have a reference page. They go on a separate page. They have to be titled references at the top. If you only have one reference, then you write reference at the top. So here's kind of what this looks like. It just says reference because I only have one. You're still having your header at the top. That's on every single page, and you also have a page number over here. All lines after the first are indented. So that's called a hanging indentation, and this is what it looks like. So the first line is not indented, but every line after that is. So if I have another reference that goes after this one, my first line is not indented, but the other lines are. Okay? The author's names are listed by the last name and then the very first initial. So this first guy is Keenely, and then we have his initials PJ. And then you would do that with all the authors. Okay, let's move on. Journal articles, authors are still listed by last name, first name, and last name, first initial, and middle initial. The publication year is in parentheses followed by a period. The type of the article is sentence case followed by a period. So the title of the article, sorry. Okay, so what that means is I have my title here. It says, do core interpersonal and affective traits of PCLR psychopathy interact with antisocial behavior and disinhibition to predict violence? So that was a really long title. Something that you need to notice in that title is only the very first word is capitalized. Even though it's a title, only the first word is capitalized. An exception to that would be proper nouns. And if there's any type of punctuation, like a semicolon, that very first word after the punctuation is also capitalized. Okay, next thing that comes up in this citation is the title of the journal. So this one is Psychological Assessment. So the title of the actual journal that the article comes from is in italics. All right. After the journal, there's a comma, and then also in italics is the volume. Is the issue, and then in parentheses is the volume, not in italics, followed by the page number. This one doesn't have page numbers. Oh yeah, it does. I'm sorry. So I do have page numbers right here, 569 through 580. So again, we have in italics the name of the journal. The issue is still in italics. In parentheses is the volume, not in italics. And then right after that is the page number. So on your presentation that you can see here, there's a link to the OWL Purdue site, and it lists how to use APA format for anything. Journal articles, websites, databases, anything like that. There's examples on there to help you. So I would say that is your main resource for helping you cite APA style. Don't go to an easy bib or easy citation machine or something like that online, because for APA, it generally does not do it correctly. So just go to the Al Purdue website, look for the example that you need, and go from there. Okay, so here's an example of that reference for you. I have a title. So in this case, it looks like it might be coming from a website because there's not an author name. It just says American Psychological Association. You still have the date in parentheses with a period right after. The journal name is what comes next. That is still in italics. So Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. And then it tells you the edition, where it came from, and then the author would be at the end. Okay, that was really fast. We will practice citing sources a lot. So right now we're gonna practice citing a website together. So I'll add another video for that later. And then we will practice some journal articles as well. Please feel free to email me if you have questions, or hop on to office hours on Black days besides Friday. Bye guys.